So we all know that Kathleen Kennedy has been getting a little bit more defensive each and every day ever since Star Wars Celebration came to a close, when she was being questioned about all the cancelled Star Wars movies before in the past, as well as how Disney and Lucasfilm handled the franchise before John and Dave really came into the picture fully. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there's been a lot of things happening between a lot of different creators like John Watts, Leslie Headland, which, by the way, are both working on Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, Kathleen Kennedy-driven projects there. But we also have the fact that Kathleen Kennedy was getting very defensive, getting very much frustrated over specific questions, being delivered to her about the canceled films surrounding Kevin Feige, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, and all these different failed projects like Patty Jenkins' movie Rogue Squadron. And the latest has a lot to do with her response to the Rey Backlash and what she had to say about the fans raising criticism over reigniting the character of Rey into the story. And if you guys want my 2 cents on this before I get into the subject, I think that Kathleen Kennedy answered in a very inappropriate way against the hardcore fans that just speak their opinion and really show their passion through all their different opinions out there. But I digress. So, we already know that Kathleen Kennedy has and always has had an issue with the dedicated fan base. We're talking about the fans that absolutely love what George Lucas does, the fans that have supported everything that he did through and through. And now we have someone like Kathleen Kennedy criticizing those fans and criticizing why fans are really kind of going against the return of Rey. Let's get into it. Now, of course, with Disney CEO Bob Iger speaking more directly with the fans as of late, Kathleen Kennedy has also been more transparent with the Star Wars fans lately. In a recent interview, Kathleen Kennedy got very defensive over the recent Rey backlash by stating the following: "I just think it's absolutely ridiculous to what I saw with how childish how fans can act in response to one of the best written characters from the sequels that JJ and Ryan had the honor to handle. And now we have Stephen Knight bringing something new to the table. But going back to Rey, I was not surprised by how so many fans acted in response to Lucasfilm's announcements surrounding Rey. I just think fans need to grow up. This is just a movie and nothing more," she says. "Rey was one of the most sophisticated characters that we had used for the sequels, and we know that we have so many supporters for the character of Rey and the centered film. Any fans that are speaking up loudly with a toxic opinion, we just tune out and not listen to them. We are shifting away from some of the rules in Star Wars that we are bringing back, of course, opening crawls, however, so that's a good thing. The fans that are criticizing Rey just have an issue with a woman getting her own main role in a main Star Wars movie." Let me pause here for 1 second. This is not the reason why, first off. A lot of reasons why so many fans are criticizing the return of Rey is because, let's just put it out there, boldly, is that this character was not all that well written from start to finish in the sequel trilogy, let alone a lot of fans just did not have that character grow on them. Rey, because she picked up all those powers with ease, with little to no training. All those different little tidbits added up to one big thing that led to our criticism. And it was Kathleen Kennedy who, by the way, lied several times. She even lied about Palpatine. She literally stated about 3 years ago, when they were promoting Episode 9, that Palpatine was always in the cards since 2012. And then J.J. Abrams he literally comes in about 3 weeks later and says, yeah, Palpatine was just a last-minute decision. We discussed this because Snoke was no longer in the picture. How could we create a remedy to that situation of getting a villain on board? Palpatine was last minute. J.J. Abrams literally put out Kathleen Kennedy as a liar there. And this just goes to show you Kathleen Kennedy's character when it comes to how they handle everything Star Wars, how they handle, the PR, the press stuff with the fans. It really is all just strictly about marketing, right? So when you look at stuff like this, of how Kathleen Kennedy is criticizing the people that are criticizing Rey, and really just labeling them as being childish or being very irrelevant to the cause of creating a Star Wars movie or something like that. Look, I mean, we have not seen a shred of footage. I understand that. It's very hard to justify that. It's very hard to judge something, I should say, that we have not seen yet, or that we have not seen even an image of yet. And for all we know, Stephen Knight's, take on the Star Wars movie could absolutely blow fans away. We already know that John and Dave are set out to reinvent Rey in the post-Episode 9 series, where the character's going to be completely different. It takes place after the Rey movie. We already talked about this. But Stephen Knight's story, it really is all dependent on how Rey is going to be in this film. Further, she goes on to say, it's just fascinating to me that fans obsess over one decision that Lucasfilm made, and how so much when there are dozens of stories to tell that they are going to deliver to fans. I myself am excited to share with what we have in store for the Acolyte and Skeleton crew, and how we broke that burden of George's old philosophy of the brand and are embracing the new. Now let me just say something about Kathleen Kennedy. It's not the smartest thing to criticize the people that are not comfortable with Rey coming back and then following up by saying that you're focused on Acolyte and Skeleton crew of breaking the burden of George's philosophy. Not a good mix. Anyways, it's going to be something that breaks the rules of the Star Wars franchise. Daisy has also been handling the criticism well, I think. She is just focusing on her work and what Mr. Knight is setting up for the story, and how it gives him so many opportunities to explore different revelations. I may not be all that involved in this project, but I do know Mr. Knight is very dedicated to the story and where it leads. So let me just say one thing here that's very apparent, is that Kathleen Kennedy putting it out there that she may not be all that involved in the Rey movie after all. I think that this is absolutely working in conjunction with the fact that Disney wants to fire her by this August. She did in fact lose a lot of creative control, especially during the fall of 2022 is where all of her creative power was getting stripped away and handed over to John and Dave. And unfortunately at that point in time, there were elements of Mando Season 3 already filmed, and so we already know that Kathleen Kennedy right now is having a lot of problems with that. If you guys look at her in some of the video interviews during and post Celebration, there's something really off about her. I keep bringing this up, just look at her eyes, look at her mannerisms, her body language. Something is off with Kathleen Kennedy. She has like this passive-aggressive type of way of answering things. I don't know what it is, but there's something about her that looks very like she's unease, that she knows something is going on, and she's trying to not say the exact words, but I digress. This is a very interesting thing about what Kennedy had to say, and it's really not the most appropriate thing to really kind of just downplay all the dedicated fans that really made Star Wars where it stands today. Disney would not have this, IP if it weren't for the fans. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear